Welcome into the I-80 Boys Miami versus Georgia Tech preview and prediction video. I'll start us off with Miami here, Christian. They've been red hot, especially offensively, 9-0, and 9-0 for the Canes. They're 11-point favorites currently to win this football game as well. So, look, I've been the resident Hurricane fan this season on the show. I picked them to win the ACC this year, so honestly, I don't want to sound like I'm too biased here, but I hope they do. But let's be honest, they've probably been the most entertaining team to watch this year. It feels like the last 4 or 5 weeks, every game is a shootout. They're down in the third quarter by a couple touchdowns, and then they got to try to score 50 to win. And a lot of that, honestly, is because of Cam Ward. And I'll get into some stats here real quick, Christian. They're averaging this is not bullshit here. They're averaging 47.4 points per game. That's number one in the country. They're number one in total offense, 35th in rushing offense, and number 3 in passing offense. If I had to hand somebody the Heisman Trophy right now, it would be Cam Ward. The dude's been unreal this season. He's got 29 touchdowns on the year, just to 6 interceptions with over 3,100 yards through the air. As far as the backfield goes, Damian Martinez, we know he's really, really good. The transfer from Oregon State, he's been solid. They got Mark Fletcher. He's a solid 1B back there as well. They both got 14 combined touchdowns on the season. Now, here's a guy nobody talks about. I don't understand why. Xavier Restrepo. This guy's got 51 receptions already, Christian, for 856 yards and 9 touchdowns. He's been a stud for them, man. He seems like every week he finds the end zone at least twice. But, to go along with him, they got Isaiah Horton, Sam Brown Jr., Jacoby George. These guys all got 30 catches as well or more on the season. And like I said about, Cam Ward, he likes to spread the ball around. He's really, really good at it. So I got 0 questions about Miami's offense. This is the big issue with Miami and what everybody's talking about, recently is where the hell is the defense, right? This defense is uber talented. They got a ton of studs on that defense, but boy, they've been giving up a lot of points lately, which is kind of surprising, like I said. So they give up 22.6 points per game, which isn't terrible numbers-wise here. That's 53rd in the country. They're 19th in total defense, which is actually surprisingly good. They're 8th in the country in stopping the run, 63rd against the pass. And one thing Miami does do, they get to the quarterback. They have 27 sacks on the year, which is 11th in the country. But here's my thing, though, and they need to get this addressed for this game, honestly, is that out of the last 5 or 6 games, Christian, they've given up 30 plus points outside of the Florida State game, which we know what Florida State is, right? They're a trash can. Every game recently, man, they're giving up way too many points. And honestly, I think the goal for Miami obviously is to win an ACC title this year, Christian. But I think they have a bigger goal in winning a national championship. You got to be a little more consistent on defense. They got to get that addressed. There's only a couple weeks of the season left here, going into the ACC championship game, and obviously, aspirations to go to the 12-team playoff. They got to get this defense playing better, man, because it's been really bad as of late. With that being said, though, I'll kick it over to you for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Chris, looking at this game, it's Haynes King is questionable coming into this game. So that's going to be a big determination, I think, either way there. If he plays, if he doesn't, you want him to play. I think he gives them the best chance to win. If not, Zach Pyron or true freshman Aaron Philo, they're going to look to pick up some slack if need be. Pyron, I think, got benched in the Virginia Tech game. They were losing late. They threw the kid in there. We'll see what it is. Either way, the good news for Tech, Chris, is they've got a pretty balanced offense, and they've only given up 4 sacks all year. So not terrible. They want to run the ball, lean on the run game a little more. I feel like that's kind of how they look to do it. To me, the biggest threat for them offensively is Jamal Haynes, who's going to need to step up and have a big game regardless. Even if he plays, if he doesn't, he still needs to have a good game. Jamal Haynes does. Control the clock. Okay, this is my keys for Georgia Tech. Control the clock and try to limit Cam Ward in this Miami offense. You said it. He can run around. He can light you up through the air. He can do a lot of things that it's really, really, really hard to stop, right? So you have to try to, number one, on offense, if you're Georgia Tech, control the clock. Do what they kind of did against, again, Florida State. Now, I know 2 completely different teams with 2 completely different outcomes of their seasons, but I think at the beginning of the year when Florida State still had all that talent, still had confidence, even over in Ireland, they did a good job at being able to play physical on defense, go match up for them, go athlete for athlete, even though they were probably not, in the same par of them, and be able to control the clock, keep them in it, keep scoring when need be, give them a chance to win at the end of the game. And if you're Georgia Tech, follow the same game plan here. Okay. Georgia Tech, to me, Chris, they're one of those teams in the country that they play up or down to whoever it is they play. I don't know why. It's just how they are. They'll mess around and, beat Duke, when Duke is undefeated to spoil their season, even though Tech already has 2 or 3 losses at that point. Right. So, hey, if you're Georgia Tech, the one thing I'll say, they do rank 27th in total defense and 59th in passing yards allowed. So they're pretty middle of the pack, I would say, obviously, at being able to shut down, opposing passing games in the country. But defensively, they're not too bad. Their defense is good enough to keep them in this game. The question is, regardless, can you put up enough points to be able to really make it a game? Chris, with that, I'll kind of jump right into my prediction here. I got Miami 34, Georgia Tech 27.
Okay. No, it's probably closer than what I have here, honestly, rethinking this a little bit, but I maybe this is a little bit of bias, just with me on Miami this year, but I just think Miami's too much, man. They've just been on fire offensively. You said it. They kind of remind me a little bit of the 2019 LSU team a little bit. They just outscore people. They've been on fire. Cam Ward, give me Miami 42, Georgia Tech 27.